How was the trip from e-commerce to construction? Like, what were you thinking?
I wanted to do something meaningful, as I said, because I was enjoying my happy life as a father and as a retired person.
What were pain points that you noticed in construction that you started thinking about tackling them? What were the first things you wanted to tackle?
Yeah, well, I think I'm not discovering anything here, but one is the painful process and the level of inefficiencies, rework, waste of that. Another thing is the delays in timings and also the big deviations in budget.
Lucas, I wanted to learn your wisdoms on what have you learned about people and team building as a second-time founder?
First one is to make sure that there's a shared purpose across all the team. So that's a very important part of my role. Okay, we have this vision, this purpose, and I need to make sure that this is crystal clear, that this is well communicated, and that everybody understands the same.
Can you give us a little bit of a playbook on how to build this trust or how to develop this trust?
Yeah, I think it's about being honest with yourself and being honest with the purpose of the company. There's also a lot of people that it's not honest. It's just about me. I'm going to justify my work. I'm going to justify that if we failed, I did my thing. And maybe they know that we will not make it, but they are only focused on that. So being very honest with the purpose of the company and with your team and with yourself, that's important.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Groundbreakers, where we reveal the stories behind the most successful founders and operators in AEC technology, from exits in the multiple hundreds of millions through to the struggles of building in a resilient industry. We've got you covered. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode.
Lucas, welcome on the Bricks and Bytes. So you are one of the three co-founders of 011H, a company that is described as neo builder or digital general contractor. But you also have a very interesting history, previously building and selling a company for quite a lot of money. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you end up in construction tech?
Yeah. So that company was Privalia.com, a pioneering e-commerce company in Europe. I co-founded the company with a former mate, Jose Manuel. I met him in 1999 working for Bain & Company in the Iberia office. And we became friends. We are both from Barcelona. So one of the motivations to start a business was to come back to Barcelona, but also because we both came from entrepreneur families. So I think we had the virus of entrepreneurship inside of us, and that manifested at some point in time. And that company, we started it in 2006, and 10 years later we sold it for around $500 million to a competitor. That was 2016, and it was an amazing experience. It was a roller coaster, but with a happy end. It gave me all. It gave me professional growth, and fulfillment, it gave me a wife. My wife is the former chief legal officer of the company. It gave me a lot of friends for life, and also it gave me my freedom, because now I can work just for passion and for purpose, but not anymore because I need it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, you spent your small fortune on 011H and the founding.
Yeah, well, only a fraction of it, because I learned that businesses are very risky, especially unproven models and startups. So from the very beginning, I decided that I would raise capital, and that's what I did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How was the trip from e-commerce to construction? Like, what were you thinking?
I wanted to do something meaningful, as I said, because I was enjoying my happy life as a father and as a retired person on my 50s. That's, I mean, something unique. But yeah, I suddenly developed a curiosity for real estate. In fact, that curiosity had been there for years and years as well. We all have rented apartments, or in my case, built a house, refurbished a house, and we have plenty of people around us that have had experience with that, or that are professionals of real estate or construction. No? So we know about the problems of this industry. But I wanted to do something meaningful for me. Meaningful for me, it's both impactful, and construction is a huge industry, and probably affordability of living, and also the climate change are two big challenges today, in which construction has a lot to say. And also, for me, meaningful is that I can have a relevant contribution to it, so I can leave a legacy. And I think my experience, or our experience, the former Privalia team, was very relevant, because at Privalia we had the opportunity to learn how to put digital teams developing digital products to work together with operational teams in order to transform an industry like retail, which is very heavy on operations. So I thought that experience was going to be very differential in construction, because most of the leaders of the status quo of construction don't have this digital mindset, this digital experience. And I don't think construction in general is going to be a very appealing space for young people looking to innovate in the digital environment. So I thought, okay, maybe my experience and also the reputation that Privalia gave us, at least in Spain, would be a very good lever to do something big, or at least to try something big in this industry. So that were the reasons.
What do you think, Lucas, are some things that stick with you? You touched upon a couple of them there, but that stick with you, and perhaps lessons learned from building previously and then exiting to building now.
Yeah, well, I think that my previous experience is very, very relevant, and I mean, many of the learnings can be transported to this new experience. I consider myself more a founder than a CEO, although I'm bearing the executive responsibility at the 11H. Well, I'm sharing that with Jose Manuel. So we are two co-CEOs, as we were in Privalia. So same story. We are repeating partnership. But I think we consider more founders than CEOs. because our level of ownership and conviction, and also probably the level of compromise we have with the company is well beyond you could find or you usually find in professional CEOs. No, so I consider myself a man on a mission, and that's my leitmotiv right now. Apart from that, obviously, I've learned as a CEO, and I think I have the skills and character to be a CEO.
It's very unlikely that there are two CEOs, co-CEOs, I think. Not very unlikely, very not often it happens. You've been doing this twice now with your co-founder.
Yeah. we are repeating.
Why are you doing this?
Why? Well, first, why I'm repeating with him, because we've developed a level of trust, complementarity, and friendship, which make us really very efficient. And not only that, we enjoy riding these experiences together, and that's something which is not very usual, especially after 25 years, which is the time we have been working together so far, from the very first time we met at Bain & Company to today. And I think that's extremely hard to achieve, because it requires not only a good fit in terms of values and character, but also complementarity, as I said, in skills. But this trust requires a lot of effort, proactive work, and willingness for this to work. And this is something we have invested a lot, and which is working very well. So I thought he would be the best partner again for a new venture, no? And we have learned to work together with this way, and to be effective this way. And yeah, we have also attracted some people with us that share the Privalia experience, like Josep, the third co-founder, who is the CFO, and he was also the CFO at Privalia, and other people in the team, like the HR executive officer, some product managers.
Chief legal officer as well?
No.
Who?
No. Yeah, that, I mean, we first were workmates, then a couple, but I think if we had been a couple before, we would never have been workmates. Yeah, it's hard to have your work and your personal life mixed, because hierarchies were very different at home and at the office. But this change of mindset every day is not easy to manage, and I think there are more dangers than benefits.
Understood.
Yeah, so Lucas, it sounds like you're now fixing a passion of yours, which I suppose in some respects is like the privilege of having had such great success in the past. So with that, could you just tell our audience what 011H does?
And maybe before this, what were pain points that you noticed in construction that you started thinking about tackling them? What were the first things you wanted to tackle?
Yeah, well, I think I'm not discovering anything here, but one is the painful process and the level of inefficiencies, rework, waste of that.
Hey listeners, I want to take a quick break to remind you about the Bricks and Bytes newsletter. If you're interested in learning about the technology shaping the future of construction, you won't want to miss the valuable insights we share each week. To get this exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today. Link is in the show notes. Back to the show.
Another thing is the delays in timings and also the big deviations in budget, and well, the increasing inflation in cost because both materials and labor. And lately, what I discovered was the impact in the environment, which I was not so much aware of the impact, not only in carbon footprint, which is huge, but also in water, in waste, in non-renewable materials, in energy, etc., etc. So it was all of that together that convinced me that probably being so a big industry and being a transversal problem across regions, markets, social class, etc., it would be really impactful if I could change something of that. No? But I mean, it's nothing new. We have a problem of productivity. I think the key of the matter is productivity. Low productivity limits production capacity, reduces efficiency, and that's behind the shortage of living and the increasing cost of construction. In Spain only, we miss more than 600,000 units of living, and that deficit is increasing from 50,000 to 100,000 every year. And we have a shortage of 500,000 to 700,000 workers of construction. No? And just to give you a very recent data that was published like 3 weeks ago, in the first half of the year, the pricing of new housing in Spain has grown more than 11% versus first half of last year. I mean, that's dramatic. And if we go to other markets like the US, probably this deficit of housing is, I don't know, more than 4 million. So that's the reality, and the impact is huge because the main expenditure of families is on living. So, I mean, we need to do something, right?
Yeah. So how are you tackling it?
Yeah. So, what's 011H? We defined it as a neo builder, and basically this neo builder has 4 differences versus the conventional builders. One is we maximize the use of prefab or industrialized building solutions. Not any. We try also to maximize the use of low carbon and circular materials on those solutions. So that's the second characteristic of it. The third one, very, very important, is we break these silos in the value chain, bringing together design and build. So applying the principle of design for manufacturing and assembly and disassembly, which is already an established principle in any industry, any product. And the fourth one is digitalization, which, it's almost anecdotic, especially in building construction, but it's a power to really automate tasks, share data, and improve productivity. So we think that prefab or industrialization can improve productivity, design and build can improve productivity, and digitalization can improve productivity. And if we do that with better materials or even design principles for sustainability, that's 011H.
So what's the tangible output? What you guys produce is essentially buildings, right?
Yeah, we decided to focus because that's also a very important point. Okay, what do we do? Where do we focus our business model, go to market, and what's the potential outcome of that? So we decided to go for high-rise buildings for urban and peri-urban densification, and we decided to start first with the residential segment. with a very, very sharp focus in the Spanish market at the beginning, and also in a specific type of customer and product type. We learned in our previous life at Privalia that focus is key, and that being extremely focused delivers. So that's what we did, and that's our focus right now.
So you mentioned a few things like prefab, digitalization, and sustainability. Are you tackling them in the same pace, with the same force, or are you doing them one by one? How are you approaching innovation?
We are approaching all of them together. That was also a discussion we had, but in a very agile and iterative way. So on prefab and sustainability, we had an important decision and bet, which is we decided to approach timber for all the above ground building system, because timber tackles two of those levers, industrialization and sustainability. So only with above ground timber structure and enveloping and partitions, you can reduce a high percentage of the embodied carbon of a building, and also, let's say, more than half of the life cycle carbon of a building. And apart from that, timber solutions are very industrialized. They are cheap to industrialize. They give you architectural flexibility as opposed to precast concrete solutions. And I mean, it's light for transportation. It's light for handling that on site with the crane. It's easy to assemble. And apart from that, it's a natural material, it's recyclable, and it's not toxic, it's natural. So it has many, many benefits. So that was a bet we did. Once we did that and solving a big part of the sustainability gap with the bet on timber, now we are focused on cost, because industrialization gives you also a big advantage on timelines. Regardless of the system, you parallelize the and below ground works with all the manufacturing, and once you finalize the below ground, you can start the assembly process, which is faster than conventional construction. So only for that bet you are also improving timelines. So now we are focused on cost and reliability, which obviously cost is probably the first driver in this industry for developers to select a contractor or an architect or both. And reliability for some asset classes may be as much important as cost, because if you are doing a hotel or a student housing, you need to open that in the summer season or at the beginning of the school season. So you need to make sure that you meet deadlines, no? And also these rental models, the faster you finish and start renting, the higher the IRR, no? So now we are focused on those two levers, as we have accomplished a big part of the sustainability target only with the timber incorporation in the building system and all its characteristics.
What is the product actually of? So obviously your product is the building, right? But so what I'm asking actually is, what about scalability of your solution? Like how scalable it is, or is?
Yeah, we think it's highly scalable because first, we are asset light, so we are not investing in capex. We are not developing building solutions. So we are betting on the experience and the capacity of all the prefab existing solutions out there. So that gives us flexibility and obviously scalability, being cash efficient. Second is we do that using software as our superpower. And the way we are approaching this software is to really help connecting or integrating all the value chain agents, suppliers of solutions and materials, but also architects, contractors, and trades. So the idea is that our digital stack connects all of them and streamlines the process end to end, and also shares real-time data across all of them. So the idea is that this Neo Builder is developed with a model of a cloud, like a cloud manufacturing for design and build, where we can connect hundreds of thousands of suppliers, but we can connect also hundreds of architects and eventually hundreds of contractors and trades, all working on the same digital stack and sharing data end to end of the project. So that should give us real scalability, because at some point in time, we could deliver projects selecting the best supply chain, the best architect, the best general contractor, and the best trades available in the area for such a project. So similar as Amazon did, moving from a retailer to a marketplace, and moving from buying inventory and then selling that inventory at a markup to connecting millions of sellers and providing them the platform to connect with customers and the services and infrastructure to really do the fulfillment and delivery of those orders, and eventually customer service or cloud services, etc. This is what we aim to do with 011H.
Lucas, so you guys, your team as it stands, are actually not actually doing the physical work on site?
No. So half of our company is like a software factory. Developers, DevOps, infrastructure guys, technological infrastructure, and product managers, etc. Half of the team are architects, structural engineers, on-site managers, project managers, supply chain managers. So those operational team is divided into project teams. Those project teams are design and build teams. So we have the designer, we have the project manager, we have the on-site manager, we have the supply chain manager. But apart from that team, which is internal, then we outsource all of the other labor intervening in a construction work. So we don't own trades, and we don't own building solutions or factories.
Makes sense. So how does it work from a client's perspective? So typically, like you have a developer or a client or owner or whatever part of the world you want to use that phrase of, but the person at the top that wants to employ a contractor to do their project for them. And then typically speaking, you'll have 4 or 5 contractors who are competitively tendering in order to carry out those works. So are you guys competitively tendering against other people, or do you get in earlier in the process? Because obviously what you're doing is quite significantly different to a typical building contractor.
Yeah, we don't participate in bidding process, so that's against our principles. We believe in design and build collaborative projects where the key trades, suppliers, contractor, designer, they from the very early stage of the design phase, they decide, okay, those are the goals and we are going to meet these goals, and we are going to set a contractual agreement where we share risks and responsibilities. And that's the way we work. Why? Because part of the lever of productivity is, as I said, to focus on improving on-site labor productivity from the design. So it's a nightmare when you take design that has been thought for conventional construction, and then you need to readapt that to a specific building solution and process. And apart from that, we think the current model is perverse. Architects basically think on spaces, geometries, they do drawings, they do estimations on costs, but they don't care so much because there will be a bidding process and the cheapest will take it. And then the cheapest will manage their way to really get their profit. And if you talk to them, most of them do that, or either cheating the developer or either cheating the trades. And this brings us to probably the main structural problem of this industry, which is the lack of trust. And obviously, changing this is going to take time, but we believe that the only way to recover this trust is to align all the value chain and to think about the optimization of the product altogether, and to do that with a trustful collaboration. And technology is going to be very helpful for that, because technology can provide us data, real-time data, which is fact-based about how's the as-built going and why things are happening on site. So this is our bet, and obviously we are missioners of that, and we only participate in to design and build process from the beginning. That doesn't mean that we have to run the design. We can collaborate with whatever architect with a clear definition of roles and responsibilities. Probably if we collaborate with an architect, he or she may take a bigger role in all the conceptual design phase. But when it goes to the detail or technical design, then 011H takes probably a bigger role. But we need to be there from the beginning.
Lucas, I would like you to tell us a little bit about examples of projects that you've done. I think you've done 3 based on our conversation a few days ago. But before this, why did you start tackling the high-rise market? High-rise are probably the last type of projects that people would start from, as they are more complicated, starting from the logistics and site constraint, and also the technology, like tangible technology that needs to be put in there, from fire stopping, complex facades, etc. Why did you start tackling this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And also we debated a lot about that. Well, first, we aim to really transform the industry and to decarbonize the industry. So the big impact and the big problem of affordability, at least in Europe, is in the high-rise building segment, because it's in the urban and peri-urban locations. And also, we saw that there are already several initiatives on single-family house, on covers, etc., and low-rise buildings, but not on high-rise buildings. So we don't believe that starting with covers will lead you to be a top high-rise building contractor, because it's so different that I don't think this is gonna be the way. It's like, thinking that you start with electric scooters, then electric bikes, then motorbikes, and then cars, no? Sometimes this example, which is very graphic, is put as a paradigm of agility, but the reality is that in many industries that doesn't work like that. And I don't think in construction this is gonna work like that. I don't think that really cracking the cover or the single family home market is gonna drive you to also crack the high-rise building market. So we decided to focus on that. And being that said, to be agile. So, okay, let's go project by project. Let's start with small projects, learn, and then let's move to bigger projects. And that's what we've done. We started a small 650 square meter building, 8 apartments in 2021. And then we moved to a bigger one in 2022, and then to a bigger one in 2023, and then to 3 bigger ones and 3 at a time in 2024. So it's about, okay, let's focus on a market, on a segment, on a type of product, on a customer, and then let's do something small, let's learn, let's iterate, let's learn, let's iterate, and based on that, let's grow.
Mm-hmm. So what are your customers looking for? Is it the price for you to be more competitive than someone else who can build similar building across the street? Or
not now, unfortunately. Hopefully, in some time from now, it will also be the case. But now we have a reality, which is in Spain, prefab is more expensive than conventional. And also the type of materials we are using, like mass timber, CLT, glue lamppost and beams, etc. This is more expensive than Portland concrete or steel. So with that reality, even we have progressed a lot in standardizing a process, in building digital tools to automate tasks, in curating a supply chain and integrating with them the farther we could, even being more efficient, and even with this design and build approach, we are still in the high range of market price. So right now, a 011H building may cost 4 to 5% more in hard cost than a conventional building. Having said that, we can save about 30% of time. We deliver more quality because one of the advantages of prefab is that quality is bigger, especially nowadays, than conventional. We are more reliable in meeting timelines and budget. And obviously, we deliver a significantly more sustainable product, which may come also at a price premium in some markets or for some clients. So when you combine everything,
it's not that bad. No, it's not that bad if you combine everything.
It's not that bad. In terms of IRR, it's better if you put that into the equation. But in terms of hard construction cost of capex, we are still a little bit more expensive. But for a rental building, if you take that into account, we could improve 4 points of IRR for the developer.
So 4 or 5% more expensive because the technology is more expensive, as in prefab is more expensive in general. So that's one question. And another one is, have you noticed other areas that you are more efficient? I don't want to say cheaper, but more efficient than traditionally built building?
Yeah. I mean, we bring efficiencies. They don't yet compensate the extra cost of prefab and timber, but we give significant efficiencies. For example, on the design phase, we are able, from the very first day to the day we can submit the documentation for the permit, we can do that in 6 weeks. If you go to a conventional process, like selecting an architect after having done some drawings of your potential product, and then doing the bidding process, selecting the architect, onboarding the architect, and have the architect working as they work nowadays to come to the time you can submit the documentation for the permit. We are comparing here our 6 weeks with probably 18 weeks. So we could save 3 months, which is in the critical path to finalize the building by presenting the documents for the permit earlier. And then we save another 3 months on the construction phase. 2 of them because of the prefab, okay? And 1 of them because of our design and build with really standardized all the assembly and post-assembly process, accompanied by a software tool that we have been developing during 4 years, which is a digital tool to support lean construction. Lean construction is key in our process, and it's a trendy practice in building in the last 3 years. But we can apply this lean construction methodology with a software product that is guiding the on-site manager and the trades on a daily basis to make sure that they are productive, so they can come in, work, and go out without collisions, that they have the materials there to do the work, and that we can replan on a daily basis if it's any unexpected event. So we have clear visibility of what's on, and we can avoid potential constraints in the future. So that saves us another 1 month. So in total, we can save 3 months in the construction, 3 months in the design phase on an 18 months project, which is a good timing for a 50 to 70 dwelling building. That's around 30% of time.
Perfect.
Lucas, I wanted to perhaps open a can of worms here with the next question, but you mentioned a point earlier that you guys are asset light. So obviously, when we have these discussions on prefabrication, and then questions always come up like, "Oh, the company is like difficult to get right, and you need that there's various problems. You need like a big order book to keep it going, and whatnot." There's companies like Katera. There's like monthly news, weekly news sometimes in the UK that another, I know it's not modular what you guys are doing necessarily, but another modular builder has gone into administration. So did you guys, when thinking about O11H, it sounds like you're intentional with the asset light, but do you have any thoughts around why modular companies don't quite get it right?
So, yeah, I think it's a combination of elements. I think owning the supply chain, owning the manufacturing facilities, that's very risky. That's very risky because, as you said, I mean, or you have high occupation of capacity, or it's very costly and profitable because you have all those fixed costs and you need to produce. Otherwise, the unitary cost of any backpot or facade element is going to be much more expensive. And that's for neo builders like us that did they bet on investing tens or hundreds of millions of euros in facilities. But that's also the case for any company just focused on manufacturing a solution like a backpot. And we have many examples in Spain of new companies manufacturing backpots that once their orders went down, they filed for insolvency. So that's very risky. That's the reason we decided to be asset light, because we have every time more and more optionality of this type of manufacturers, and we can bring them, if we succeed and grow, this volume, and at some point in time they can trade better price for us in order to secure their revenues and production capacity. So that's the idea. and the benefit we can bring if we grow and if we open our platform to other architects and contractors to use all these building solutions through this supply chain integration. But also, I think some of them lacked humbleness. I mean, construction is a very specific industry. It's very difficult. Even if you standardize to the limit, every location is different. Every land is different. Any urbanistic regulation is different. Every building code is different. And even if you prefab a lot, you may still have like 50-40% of the value done traditionally by trades. So you need to understand what this is about. You need to know what's the nature of the work they are doing. And I think 5 years ago, there was a hype in construction tech, also fueled by the climate urgency. And many founders came to this space. They raised hundreds of millions. They thought or they promised, yeah, we will build as Apple does iPhones or Toyota does cars, but this is not like doing iPhones or cars. So I think many people lack humbleness to really understand and acknowledge and learn what this is about. I think even raising too much capital, some of them like BIP raised like $600 million. I mean, you have examples as Naver or Modulos or Ilke Homes, obviously Caterra. So many of them that had like top VC brands from Silicon Valley raised a lot of cash. They burned it very quickly. They didn't demonstrate product market fit. Some of them even took development risk because they thought, okay, this industry is very conservative, is reluctant to change. They need to see things working for years before adopting that. So let's develop for ourselves. But developing is more cash to buy the land. It's more risk. It's execution risk, administrative risk, is commercial risk. So some of them also failed because at the end they couldn't go through these risks of becoming development, or they didn't raise the cash to be a developer. And probably some of them lacked the other way around, like lacked financial strength to go through this desert trip and make it happen. No?
I got an actual question, but before that, what is 011H? What does it mean?
The name, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the idea of the name came because we wanted to do something very transformational, and we said, okay, most brands use words, let's use numbers to make it different. And the 011 is because the 0 and 1 from digital, our superpower is the digitalization. I mean, we don't pretend to be better architects than any good architect, or better on-site manager than any good on-site manager. In fact, we are here to democratize these roles through software. But we had a superpower, which is the capacity to build digital products and to learn how to, let's say, discover the pain points and solve them with digital products. In fact, I like to say that we are the Batman of construction, because Batman is the only superhero that does not have any superpower. He has cash and technology, and with that technology, he becomes a superpower. So that's what we thought about 011H. So the 0 and 1 comes from digitalization, and 011, in fact, are the first 3 digits of the Fibonacci succession. And the Fibonacci succession is very related with proportions and design, which is related with architecture. And also, it's curious, but the branches of the conifer trees, when they grow, they follow the Fibonacci succession in the way the number of branches grow. And so there were many things that inspired us versus the Fibonacci succession. And the first 3 digits are 0, 1, 1, beyond the 0 and 1 from the digital. And the H came from housing, human housing, healthy habitat. So yeah, that's the reason of the name. Although many people think it comes from the 11th hour. Which is great, because in some conferences I'm finishing my presentations like it's the 11th hour for construction. It's now or never, and I use the logo for the 11th hour of C11H. But the real story is the previous one.
Good. I thought it's from 0 to 11 in terms of floors, and 8 was some Spanish word. I
no, even some people said, okay, this is about 11 a.m., which is the time construction workers do a break to eat the sandwich. And yeah, I said, okay, good try, but no, it's not that reason.
Okay, so 5 years from now, or in some future, what are you selling? Are you selling business model, or are you a developer?
You mean building developer, or
so let's say,
software developer?
Yeah. So in the 5 years from now, would you be building buildings as O11H, or you will be selling like business model as a service to other developers who would like to become a digital developer or digital general contractor?
Yeah, I think both. Increasingly, we will become a platform, so other contractors could find and opt to projects, and same for architects, and same for suppliers, but also suppliers will be able to connect with contractors and with architects. And I hope that C11H is the platform where a developer can find a turnkey project, or a contractor, or an architect, or an architect can find solutions, or a contractor can find solutions, and they can really trade among them under the warranty and umbrella of C11H. So we can provide like outcome as a service to any of those agents, bringing together what they need to warranty an outcome. I mean, imagine that a constructor decided that the solution or the architect of the project is going to be a prefab facade. A prefab facade, you need to select, okay, there are those options, which is going to be the model, which is going to be the supplier, but then someone has to think about, okay, what about the joints and connections with the slabs or with other elements? Who is solving that? That includes some engineering, acoustics, fire, obviously structural, but also these facades needs to be transported from the factory to the site in a, let's say, just-in-time process. And then you will need a crew for the assembly. And I mean, this crew can come from the facade manufacturer or not, because you don't know where or how this facade is going to be assembled with other components that may be also timber or metal or concrete. And at the end, there are many people involved in making sure that this facade is assembled, performing, and meeting the technical code in the project. So we can be the source to make sure that if you need a facade, we provide you the outcome, which is the best facade with all the engineering, transportation, assembly, and that this is under C11H warranty. So
and that,
yeah,
and that would be in Spain or across the globe?
No, hopefully across Europe. In fact, now we are already talking with 2 developers in France. France is a more advanced market in building regarding sustainability. Maybe it's the 3rd European market with more strict sustainability regulations right now. And there are some developers that are focused on developing green buildings. And obviously, costs in France are higher than in Spain. So if you can supply part of the building system in France with suppliers that we have in Spain, there's even an arbitrage of cost. So we have very interesting case and very advanced conversations. So I think it's very probable that by 2026 we are building in France, maybe even earlier. So the idea is that our platform could grow, incorporating the supply chain from other countries, having architects working on how to adapt the existing solutions to the French or Dutch technical codes, and also finding trades and contractors there that know the labor regulations and that have their local contacts with the trades to really perform a project. So we think that will travel.
I'm very curious of how the faces look like when you tell people that you're sharing the risks and there's no like bidding, because it's kind of completely different concept than
It's different. Now it's very minor, so people understand that theoretically this is the way to go, but that, as I said before, needs a step forward in trust. And this is not there. So our bet is, okay, we have to prove the concept many times, starting with one segment, and then we can move to other segments. We can move to offices, hotels, commercial buildings, refurbishment, but we need to prove in a segment, in a market, that several times we beat conventional construction. I mean, if you do that, then people will start to embrace that. So that's our bet.
Yeah. I guess as well, I suppose it's about finding the right customer as well, right? Because some will just be purely price driven, which tends to be the majority, certainly here in the UK. Whereas some, and perhaps I'll give you an example, is like some clients I work with, if they have younger family, for example, they're much more interested in sustainability and efficiency of what they're building.
Yeah, but also it's our job now to navigate all the complexity of these big developers, because there's some dyslexia on them. The CEO is thinking on return on equity and also thinking about his commitment to decarbonize by 50% his activity with investors, debt providers, etc. Okay? But the regional manager that is managing the project is thinking about hard construction cost per square meter. Because he is thinking about you as, okay, you are a contractor. So we need to close this gap and really drive IRR, which is the driver of return on equity, which is the goal of the CEO and what their shareholders are looking for. What's the problem? The problem is that maybe this goes somehow against that regional people and those teams that are there because they have to manage all this complexity and all these conflicts between the designer and the contractor and the trades and the project manager. So maybe with companies like 011H, those type of roles do not need to exist anymore. But those people right now is managing the regional P&L of the big developer. So we need to navigate through this complexity. We need to break these dynamics that have been there for decades and decades, and that will mean that some people will become obsolete in the industry, and that forces will change. Because right now, if you think about a contractor, I mean, many contractors out there add few value in the value chain. I mean, the design is given, they outsource everything. They don't have a learning because it's just a group of on-site managers, everyone coming from here and there with their own booklet and their own experience. If you have a good one, the work will go well. If you have a bad one, it will be a mess. But that's the majority of contractors. So if you think, okay, why contractors are participating with a so low share in the profit pool? Well, because the value added they bring is just contracting and bearing the risk. But that's it. So this needs to change. And we bring much more value. We bring more speed, more reliability, a full supply chain. We can democratize design with all those supply chain, because architects don't need to really go and see, okay, what are the manufacturers? What are the products? Let's think about the system. Let's validate and certify their solutions. I mean, you just open your Revit plugin, you browse the catalog, you find that there, and then you find these automatisms that help you to join and connect all those components together, and how can you do an opening, and how can you protect that from fire. And I mean, there's like a copilot helping you on that. And that's democratization of, let's say, the technical design. So architects could spend more time in what they are really, really valuable, which is, okay, how do we innovate in urbanism? How we do innovate in the use of spaces? How do we integrate better the building with the environment, but not in drawing a technical design?
Lucas, what's the O11H go-to-market playbook?
Yeah, we have a manifesto.
You're gonna build your building. You can't bid.
Yeah, so our go-to-market playbook is, okay, we selected Spain, residential, high-rise, urban and peri-urban densification, and big institutionally backed developers. We want to iterate on that segment client geography until we beat conventional construction in all several times. We want to do that repeating with customers, so we gain more share of wallet every year. So this loyalty becomes our growth driver, and then apply the learnings to a new segment like hotels or co-livings or student housing, and then to other segments like offices, etc. And while we do that, we can take our playbook and experience of residential buildings in Spain and do that in another geography like France. So this combination of segments and geographies gives us a massive growth opportunity, because we can be a multi-billion company just having a significant share in one of the big segments like residential in Spain. But you have all these segments and more geographies, and you have all the refurbishment market, which is huge, and it will become bigger and bigger. And obviously, we have the platform business. How can we open that? And we can be the platform to connect architects and trades and suppliers, and bring transactionality there. And we can also sell software licenses in the future. In fact, we are already selling. We have a product, a digital product, which we call the Builder. It's a product to digitalize lean construction methodology. So to bring like the post-it methodology by day, by floor, and by apartment, with the different colors being different trades, to the digital realm, with the advantages that brings, no? And this product, which is working very well for us, now we are selling this product to other general contractors to use for their projects. So we see many growth opportunities, but I mean, right now we need to be focused on the next step, and the next step is to really win residential high-rise segment in Spain, and that's right now our focus.
Very good.
Lucas, I wanted to learn your wisdoms on what have you learned about people and team building as a second-time founder?
Wow, that's also a very good question. So, as a founder CEO, if I think about my priorities, what's my role? First one is to make sure that there's a shared purpose across all the team. So that's a very important part of my role. Okay, we have this vision, this purpose, and I need to make sure that this is crystal clear, that this is well communicated, and that everybody understands the same. Second is focus and prioritization, which, by the way, having a clear shared vision is a prerequisite for good prioritization, because if we know what we are here for, and of the many alternatives we have to do, which one is bringing us closer to our vision, then almost everybody in the company can prioritize. But my second role is making sure that we have sharp focus. The third one is having the best talent. Probably, if I can secure those three things, then my job is almost done. At least my, let's say, recurrent job. Then there are some times that you have to make tough decisions, that those decisions, the CEO is the only one that can make them, and you are paid for that, and people expect that you make that decisions, not only your team, but also your shareholders, etc. So that's not recurrent, but that's also important. But once you've done that, then you are at the service of the people. Your role is, okay, now how can I help leading that, and how can I serve these people so they grow, so I facilitate decision making, so I give them more clarity. And that requires, I guess, a combination of values, because values are a prerequisite of trust, a combination of character, because you need to make decisions, and sometimes it's easy to make decisions that are very clear because numbers tell you, okay, is this, or that are not very tough because, okay, I hired this analyst, I'm firing him. But there are decisions that are very tough when you don't know what's the right one, you don't have fact base, and you have to fire a very good friend of you because it's not delivering. So that's on my back, and that's what people expect to me. And you need trust, you need character for that, and I think you need the ability to develop deep relationships with people, because you find a lot of people that just go to the surface but don't go inside. And one of the things I learned in Privalia is that a startup, scale up, etc., is a roller coaster. You will go through very good times, but through very tough times. And on those tough times, the value of those really trustful relationships are raised. And it's where people, even knowing that it's going to be tough, it's going to be risky, but they still trust you and put their confidence of you. And this applies to the team, but also to the providers and to the clients. I mean, there's people that you see is not capable to develop trustful relationship with providers. And every time the provider has a big issue, they call to you. And you say, okay, I'm not the COO or I'm not the supply chain manager. Why he or she didn't manage to build this trust? But I mean, that's what I learned. No? So
can you give us a little bit of a playbook on how to build this trust or how to develop this trust?
Yeah, I think it's about being honest with yourself and being honest with the purpose of the company. There's also a lot of people that it's not honest. It's just about me. I'm going to justify my work. I'm going to justify that if we failed, I did my thing. And maybe they know that we will not make it, but they are only focused on that. So being very honest with the purpose of the company and with your team and with yourself, that's important. Obviously, providing them a lot of background of why you are doing things, and the why, and even sometimes how you feel about that, and being human, no, and connecting. I like a framework that I learned going through some sessions with entrepreneurs, which is okay. You need to explain what you are doing, why this is really important, and how makes you feel, no? And this is a way you can connect with people. But I mean, you need to listen to them, you need to empathize with them, you need to be open and go beyond just the fact. As I said, you need to demonstrate honesty. I mean, it's a combination of those things, no? And you need to be also what's the word?
Compassionate.
Well, those decisions that I said are tough, but are needed. And people, if you explain why, they understand why you are making those decisions, really to make them, no? Some CEOs or founders, they do not develop trust because they don't make decisions. And people at the end need decision making, because otherwise you are putting in risk the company, you are putting in risk the project and their jobs, no? And people has put a lot of energy, a lot of emotion on the company, no? So yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's hard to make it happen, no?
Yeah,
and
it's also
at
not
the end,
easy.
the role of a manager and obviously a CEO is to make things happen. I mean, if you don't make things happen, everything else is theory, is bullshit, no? In fact, we have one of our values that says it's all theory unless you get results, no? So yeah, it's about making things happen with those ingredients that I just said you, which are very impactful for people and for developing trust.
Very good.
Thanks for this piece on leadership.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice way and a bit of wisdom to end and wrap up.
I'm 53. That should bring you something good. Apart from the arthrosis and a slower brain and
no, it doesn't show. It doesn't show. Okay, Lucas, could you tell people where they could find out more about you and 011H?
Yeah, well, we have a website, obviously, but it's very short. But we are very active in LinkedIn. One of our, I think, duties is to evangelize in the industry about this new way to build. And LinkedIn is a very powerful communication tool for that. So we are putting a lot of content there, showing how our digital tools work, showing an assembly of bathpots on site, whatever. So that's a very good source of information. We also have a channel at YouTube where we show a lot of videos about the building process, the manufacturing of the components, also the software, also nice explanations about what is 11H. There's one video that I like that I did with my daughter, trying to explain in 20 minutes what is 11H to a kid. So if you can make it, then you should expect any adult to understand really what 11H is. So that's
good
also
challenge.
another source of learning about the company. And about myself, this will be one more, but I've participated in several podcasts that you could find there. I explain my history before Privalia, the Privalia history, and now with 11H.
Very good. All right, Lucas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lucas.
Okay. Thank you, Owen and Martin. Nice to meet you.